It's 41 years ago this week since Americans last walked on the moon. Although the Chinese landing of an unmanned rover isn't considered a game changer, it is significant because it marks another shift in power towards the east and takes the Chinese that one step closer to landing a human on the moon. China's success is good news for another of the world's leading space industries, ours. The components here at the Rutherford Appleton laboratory near Oxford are so delicate that one of the biggest dangers is human contamination.
This is not going to hit us at all, is it? It's just that we know that for certain.
We are in absolutely no danger of us hitting it. The chances of something like this, of this size, which is actually relatively small in terms of asteroids, is a 1 in 1,200 year event. So it is extremely rare. 10 years ago, scientists might not have even been able to spot an asteroid of this size coming so close to Earth. So it really is rare.
Meteorologist Sir Cruddas is showing me the forecast map from D-Day. Lots of observations marked around Britain.
Well, that's why places such as Tyree were so important, because they were able to fly 1,000 miles in this direction up towards the Icelandic Gap and really collect all that information that was missing. And because our weather comes from the west, we could get a better idea of what was coming towards us, and it gave us an advantage over the Germans. There'd been high pressure over France, low pressure over England, so it created quite windy conditions. One of 18 finalists for Australia's Best Jobs competition, the 34-year-old has been travelling the country, competing in challenges such as swimming with whale sharks and getting to grips with the local wildlife. He's landed a 6-month contract worth around £67,000 to live and work here in Australia. The new role will mean for Rich a move to Perth on the west coast, where he'll work as a tastemaster, sampling the best in food and wine that the region has to offer, and then blogging about his experience. If you were to injure your arms or legs in a traumatic accident, you could end up with nerve damage. It's something which may result in a devastating loss of sensation in your limbs and happens to 1 in 1,000 of us. Thanks to exciting new research here at the University of Sheffield, things could soon change. Researchers here have developed a method of assisting damaged nerves to repair naturally, using implants that can bridge an injury site by providing the body with physical cues to stimulate regrowth. So what do you mean by nerve guide, and how do you make one?
Well, really, this is what the research is all about. So it's a tube, but it's a tube that actually has a complex structure within it, because the nerve is a complex.
Well, at the moment, what we've got is very dry conditions in the south. We've had a quarter less rain than you normally expect, whereas in the north and in the west, we've had much more rain. And the reason for that, most of our weather actually comes from the west over the Atlantic Ocean, where it's very, very wet, it's very moist, and so if you live on the west, you get more rain. But if you live on the east, that air, that weather has travelled over land, so it's drier, therefore you get less rain. The best way to think about the biobank is like a large scientific library. The idea is that researchers can use the samples stored in this giant freezer in order to learn more about what causes common diseases. The transit of Venus really is a once-in-a-lifetime astronomical event. If you don't see it during the early hours of tomorrow morning, you won't see it again for another 105 years. It's been hugely important for science, but did you know it was first observed here in the northwest in 2 different places, one near Liverpool and the other at this house here in Salford? Now, Stephen Cohen joins me. You're the owner of this house, and I understand not only have you turned it in to look exactly how it did in the 17th century, but you guys are going to be broadcasting live to NASA during the transit.
The future of all different types of keyhole surgery. A word of warning, viewers may find some of the images in Sarah Cruddas' report upsetting.
The surgical team here are for the first time using 3D technology and robotics to carry out keyhole surgery. The operation is being trialled here in Manchester. The idea is it's cheaper, better for the patients and more efficient, and if successful it can be rolled out across the country.
Beaming up thing to happen.
Well, it does, and it does sound like science fiction, but this mission, this Gaia mission, as well as the exoplanet stuff, is going to look at 1 billion stars in our galaxy, the Milky Way, and that's only 1% of the number of stars. So we're just a small, tiny dot. There's so much else out there.
Well, Sarah, thanks for the explanation there. It's a £2 billion European probe. It's going to map more than 1 billion stars.
Before World War II, they had ships out across the Atlantic. They were able to get so much information, but of course, it was a different story during World War II. As you know, they would have become a target. So the only way they could do that was actually flying out across the Atlantic into storms, into different types of clouds, getting lots of different measurements about the atmosphere and about weather fronts across the Atlantic in order to work out how the weather was going to behave when we got back to the UK.